Welcome everyone. This is our team, and we're all about giving entrepreneurs and business owners sustainable income, and a large part of it is through commercial financing. I've got the two industry veterans, the sluggers, the people who make it happen, who came from banking. Let's start with introductions. We'll start with Gord, the industry legend. Tell people about your experience of why you got into the commercial real estate industry, commercial lending, and what else brought you to today.
Well, my name is Gord Dosanjh, and I've been a commercial banker now was a commercial banker for over 27 years. I worked 23 years with Scotiabank, and I retired this summer from BDC as Assistant Vice President of Business Development, and basically in commercial financing as well, and also providing advisory services to commercial businesses. Why I got into business? I guess I've always been an entrepreneur myself, and I like business, so I wanted to learn about business. I wanted to understand how to differentiate between a good business and a bad business, and what a good business does and how they become more successful. And I also wanted to help those companies that I work with to become more successful just from what I've learned over the years. And so that's kind of what brought me into this industry. And I think it's an important part. I mean, we rely on a lot of industries and businesses and life, and I think it's good to see people succeed. There's a lot of strong people in businesses, but they may be very good at what they do, but they don't know the finance end of it, and they don't know if they are successful or how to become more successful. So I kind of feel that I could help mentor them or coach them as well, or guide them to being more successful.
Love it. And a lot of businesses too, business owners, I mean, they don't realize that to have a proper exit plan, they need to actually talk with someone like yourself in terms of exiting a business, which eventually everyone does in some way. A lot of these owners as well, a lot of them don't realize that they can buy commercial real estate through their business, and they need to have the right financials for that. And lastly, everyone needs some kind of line of credit, not just for tax purposes or for cash flow purposes, but also to have on hand in case something happens to their business, good or bad. So those are all like key areas that I think people don't think about when they talk to commercial brokers. They think just real estate, but there's other aspects to that. And any business that makes at least $5 million a year, up to around 50-ish, especially need this, right? And it seems like that's been a lot of your customer base. Have you funded how many mortgages the last X amount of years? Don't be shy, you can tell the
I think
team that.
it's well over $1 billion in financing that I've done throughout my career, for sure. And I think a lot of my clients, they know that with their business, they really don't have a pension or anything to fall back on. And, although commercial real estate may not be needed by the business, but it is needed by the owners of the business, because they want to have that income when they retire, so they can exit their business by selling it, or also having their family take it over, or having a management transition. But with the ownership of that building or the commercial building, they're able to generate income for themselves once they exit the business. And that's really the strong reason or rationale why a lot of clients will buy their own building. I've had clients that started with, buying a $5 million building and now own $25 to $50 million worth of real estate.
Wow.
And, they could, and this is for, guys that are maybe in their 40s now, that could retire any day if they wanted to, but they still enjoy their business and they continue to grow their business. So, the increase in the real estate market has been really helped them grow their personal net worth, or significant, which they may not have been able to generate through their business.
Love it.
Well.
And along the journey, of course, Raj Singh over here. Talk about how you met Raj, and then Raj, tell us a bit about your background.
Well, I somewhere along those last 35 years or 40 years, I met Gord, I think about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I had graduated university, finished my economics degree, and I worked at Scotiabank, and Gord was the account manager, I was an analyst. So I cut my teeth under him. I've been now a commercial banker for about 15 years, broker for 4. And yeah, I think just to echo what Gord was saying, there's a huge market segment that I've seen in coming into a broker's where I found that in the broker world the word commercial was used very loosely.
Right.
it's like, oh, I deal with commercial deals, but what is that and what does that entail? To a commercial banker, what they're doing doesn't constitute necessarily commercial lending. It constitutes maybe collecting some documents and seeing putting a feeler out there for what can be done. Whereas us, we eat, breathe, and sleep what those operating companies do. So we can, in a very short period of time, from all the years of experience, we can evaluate what can be done, who can do it, how to get there, how to, even first things first, become bankable, because that's a problem too. Getting your accounting in order, getting your systems in place so that you can spit out financial information when needed, when the bank needs it, and then that's how people scale, right? You can scale with cash. If you don't have cash, you got to scale with the bank's money, and the bank wants to see an organized client that has a good grasp of their financial picture, has a good understanding, and has goals, that they look to achieve and meet, and they measure their success against those goals, which is something, which you would think is really common or should be common sense, you don't see in the marketplace, right? I would say very few clients actually put projections together for their business and then measure their success against projections. They have no idea what the business does until probably the accountant does the year-end financial statements, and then that's when they evaluate. But that, coming from a banking perspective, that's probably not the most efficient way to deal with your business and your finances, period.
Well, 100%.
For a lot of reasons.
And you mentioned accountants, right? I feel like, entrepreneurs have many professionals who work with them, right? But those professionals are very myopic and very focused in what they do. An accountant's goal is to save on taxes, be compliant. But what they miss, a lot of the things, you guys are basically part-time accountants. Let's talk about how, beyond, of course, finding the right lenders and helping someone get their documents packaged up properly, you got your advisors and strategists, and I think people don't associate that with a commercial mortgage lender. Talk about the accounting part and the other value-added services that, as a team, we're giving to these business owners well before they have that important event, which is going to be taking out a line of credit for their business, buying a commercial asset, or exiting their business. Those are usually the three common liquidity events or ways they grow cash. But how are we different from accountants and the other professionals, or how do we organize them properly so that business owner is not going to have any surprises at the 11th hour?
Well, I think with the accountant, I think probably one of the biggest misconceptions or hurdles is like an accountant gets hired and they think, well, how do I save them on tax, right? That's my number one goal, and that's it. But should that be, is that counterproductive to your financing, right?
Right.
If you're paying less taxes, meaning you're showing less profits and you're doing, making tax saving strategies, those generally speaking are counterintuitive for obtaining financing. Because you're taking away from the ability to service debt and those kind of things. So those things are definitely they don't have to be mutually exclusive. You can have a good tax strategy where you're not paying so much tax, but where you're not avoiding it either, right? And then limiting yourself on your bankability. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge or hurdle that I see when, or misconception when the relationship between a business owner and that accountant, right, is just to save them tax. But there's a lot more to it, and that's where we kind of guide the accountants and the business owner to shift that away from just the tax conversation and more about, the business as a whole.
Yeah, so it's not just playing defense, it's playing offense.
Yeah.
Right? You need to do both, especially in the market, that we're seeing nowadays. Maybe Gord, to wrap up, I guess where do you see commercial financing going, business owners? Where do you want to add the most value? Now that you're in a certain part of your life where you have so much wealth, knowledge, you've got so many people at every bank in Canada that you can pick up the phone with and pay attention. What are the main thing that business owners should keep in mind, or of course realtors or any other professionals that have these business owners as clients and who want to help them elevate? What are the key takeaways of things that professionals can advise their clients to do when they talk to us so they can succeed?
I think the most important thing is to have their house in order. And a lot of times, clients are looking for financing, but they really don't have the information, or they don't have it packaged correctly, or they don't understand it, or they need help in bringing in the right people to have timely reporting, all kinds of things that need to be done well ahead of before you approach a bank and ask a bank for financing. Is that, you really need to understand the business and make sure the financial statements reflect the operations of that business, and show the bank that the company has the ability to service the debt, or has the ability to inject, or can take on if there is any risks or uncertainties, how are they going to mitigate these risks?
Right.
A lot of times clients, just kind of hand information to a inexperienced banker
Right.
who will present it to credit, and the loan will get declined, the request will get declined because they're not sure if they've presented the right information,
Right.
or they've shed
too
some
much
light,
information.
or too much information, or shed some light on some of the rationale behind of what happened in a business, right?
Right.
Every business is a story, and if you can tell the story correctly, whether they hit COVID or they've gone through 9/11 or there's interest rate hikes, and how they're going to mitigate those risks and how they're going to deal with those things and how they've taken care of their business during those periods. That's a big job, and it needs to be done correctly. It needs to be presented correctly. I think that every large business should have an advisory board or some type of advice or consulting services. Those companies are much more successful if they have a good accountant, they have a good lawyer, they have a good banker or a financial advisor that can prepare them for whatever challenges or opportunities that are presented to themselves. Right now there's a lot of challenges in life, and they need to prepare for those. But when the opportunity comes, is their financial package ready to go so they can take advantage of those opportunities when they come? Whether it's a dip in real estate prices and now they want to acquire that real estate because the price is at the right market.
Sure.
Well, it goes back to the saying we always say, right? There's in commercial credit especially, there's no second chance for first impressions.
Wow.
So if you don't have your ducks in a row the first time, it's going to hinder you after that, period. Just that's how it is. That's the nature of the game.
It's high stakes, right?
It's very high stakes. So if you have your ducks in a row the first time, you're setting yourself up for success. If you don't and you throw it against the wall and hope it sticks, then you're setting yourself up for failure.
And your business and your family legacy and fortune, etc. Right? And I think a key point too to leave our viewers off with as well, that we are going beyond just being a broker. Like we are the glue between all the professionals you mentioned. All the professionals are in their own lane. We are like the visionary, the quarterback. We bring it all together. And the sooner we do that, the sooner the business owner and the professionals make important decisions that will make them more bankable. And they make those decisions early, and they avoid wrong decisions that seem good or are good in isolation. But when they don't have the big picture in mind to buy a commercial asset, to get a big line of credit, to exponentially grow the business, that's a huge problem. So to have a small win for a big loss is what's happening left, right, and center. So if you have a client who seems like they know what they're doing, and so do their professionals, come to talk to us first just to make sure that it's going to be bankable and there isn't that loss first impression.
Well, our network is their network. Basically, at the end, that's what we offer. Is we offer our network to our clients.
Yeah.
Our services include all our networks. So whether it's finding a construction company to build that building for them, finding an appraisal company to appraise that, whether it's
navigating through construction draws. Yeah.
So we work with all those professionals, and whether they're QSs in construction management, or whether they're firms that can do their review engagement statements, that can provide audited statements, whatever type of financial reporting that they need, we can help them, whether they're looking for someone to help them with their collecting their receivables that they've had challenges with,
Sure.
We work with companies in those industries, and that's really the most important thing is we're offering we vetted those people, so that helps an entrepreneur instead of spending a lot of time trying to figure out if this professional is the right professional for their business. We kind of can guide them and say, hey, these are a couple of options that you have. Use these people. They've done what you need.
Yeah.
And they can get the job done in a timely manner, in a reasonable price, and they can get their project going quickly.
Absolutely.
So we are commercial mortgage lenders, but really we're business advisors. And I said at the beginning of this video it's all about the entrepreneur, the business owner, having sustainable income. And that means more profit, not revenue, profits, less time, zero burnout. Because ultimately everyone's got families and they have a life to live, and there's enough stressors. And the last thing you need is a stress that could be easily avoided with proper planning. And this huge opportunity for business owners to better leverage themselves and be an active part of of the growing real estate around them. So there's lots of opportunity. This has been a great introduction. Maybe to end off, when we're not busy doing business advising and lending, what are we doing in our free time?
What are we doing?
We're
Lots of golf.
golfing.
Lots of golf. Handicap's going down.
Yeah.
And we'll be your trusted advisor when it comes to your business.
Yeah. If you also need to know which iron to hit on from 150 yards, Gord will tell you too. No problem. He's a good advisor there too.
There you go. Tried and tested. So, well, either we see you on the golf course, in the office, or at a nice restaurant. Thanks for listening, and here's our team.
Thanks.
Thank you.